The Prime Minister reported this morning that Ottawa is clear, the trucks are gone and the borders are open, but he says an emergency remains. Can the Prime Minister tell us what is the criteria for this emergency to be declared over, and on what date will he end these unprecedented and invasive measures?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker. The Emergencies Act is enabling critical measures to end these illegal blockades and prevent further occupations. We've heard from police chiefs, security experts, and municipal and provincial leadership that it has been essential to the response. We've been very clear that these measures will apply only when and where necessary, and again, these tools are to supplement local capacity, not negate or override it. As soon as these measures are no longer required, we will gladly lift them. This is responsible leadership.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Can the Prime Minister tell us exactly what powers the Emergency Act is giving him today that do not already exist? I know he said he needed the Act to force tow trucks to tow trucks away, but as he's already said, the trucks are gone, so we don't need tow trucks any longer. What power is needed right now, today, under the Emergency Act that doesn't already exist under current Canadian law?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
After weeks of people being harassed in their neighbourhoods and seeing small businesses forced to close, after billions of dollars were stalled in trade, putting people's livelihoods at risk, after evidence of increased ideologically motivated violent extremism activity across the country, and after a flood of misinformation and disinformation washed over Canada, including from foreign sources, it became clear that local and provincial authorities needed more tools to restore order and keep people safe. I ask all members of Parliament to stand up for Canada this evening.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talked earlier today about mending fences. He called on Canadians to call their unvaccinated cousin and for Canadians to aim for more decency in our public discourse. I would like to ask the Prime Minister if he would be willing to lead by example and apologize to Canadians that he called racist and misogynist and with unacceptable views because he disagreed with them. I think it would go a long way, Mr. Speaker. Would the Prime Minister rise today and would he lead the way?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the right of Canadians to express their opinions, the right of Canadians to protest peacefully, to disagree with their governments is something we will always stand up to protect and uphold, even with the implementation of the Emergencies Act. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms continues to apply. And quite frankly, Mr. Speaker, continuing to demonstrate the way Canadians are being there for each other, not harming their neighbours, not occupying cities, but being there for frontline workers, being there to support each other. That has been the story of this blockade and this pandemic.
L'Honorable Député de Mégantic-L'Érable.
Monsieur le Président, prenons au mot le Premier ministre. Le député de Beaches
confirmed this morning in this House that I am not convinced that the Emergencies Act should be implemented after today. I will vote for it, but now because it's a confidence vote. Is it true that you've called for a confidence vote? Will you start an election if they don't vote for it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. The Emergencies Act allows us to take essential measures to end the illegal blockades and to prevent the occupation from starting again. Security experts, police forces and officials have told us that this act is essential. They've clearly said that these measures will only be applied as necessary. These are tools that are in addition to local capacity, and we will cancel these measures as soon as necessary. Thank you. The Honourable Member from Mégantic-L'Érable. Many words, Mr. Speaker. I've listened to the Prime Minister carefully, but it's not enough to tell Canadians to talk to each other. The Prime Minister himself has to set the example. When he listened to Canadians who do not think like him, did he take time to call the member for Louis Hébert in terms of voting for these emergency measures? Will he call each of the citizens that he insulted over the past weeks? It's time for the Prime Minister to walk the talk. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, since the beginning of this pandemic, this government, like almost all Canadians, have been there for each other. We supported each other during difficult times. We were there for small companies and for seniors and for our frontline workers. And this will be the history of our pandemic. It won't be the history of people who are blocking streets and preventing people, other Canadians, from doing their jobs and for living in peace. It'll be the history of people who are there for each other. And it is these people that we will continue to work with for the future. The Honourable for Bergen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. More than 2 weeks ago, the City of Ottawa asked for 1,800 RCMP officers so they could adequately resolve this crisis. Last week, they showed that this was actually the correct solution. But even more than 2 weeks ago, I hope the Prime Minister considered the Emergencies Act. But since he didn't invoke it every time there was a protest, I hope he will resist that temptation. But can he now renounce to the use of the Emergencies Act? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that we are still in a precarious situation across the country. We're happy to have seen the work that our police forces did over the past weekend here in Ottawa and Gatineau to ensure everyone's safety in the National Capital Region. We've also seen interventions across the country to prevent other convoys from going to places where there are blockades that could be formed. We're going to remain vigilant, but of course, we're all looking forward to noting the end of these emergency measures, and we will be evaluating the situation every day. The Honourable Member for Bergen. I would ask the Prime Minister to identify at least one place in Canada or Quebec that justifies the existence of this act right now. He talked about tow trucks and financing and freezing bank accounts, not for 2 weeks. Well, let's make legislation for 2 weeks, not permanently, if there is criminal actions done with criminal funding. But he wants this to be a confidence vote because he's fearing his own caucus. Can he not admit that these are not the right means to go about this? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I would like to note that I appreciate enormously the commitment of the Bloc leader in terms of emergency additional measures that we could debate in this Parliament once the emergency state is over, to ensure that our police forces and authorities do have all the necessary tools so that they can deal with illegal occupation or criminal acts such as this one. For the time being, we're still in an emergency situation. And I know, like all Canadians, that we're looking forward to end these emergency measures as soon as necessary, and we will continue to monitor the situation closely. Thank you.